Well, there you are. I thought you'd catch up with us sooner or later. You're listening to Houston Media Source, HMS TV. We're Channel 17 in Houston on the Comcast. If you're on the internet, we're hmstv.org, and we're glad to have you folks out there in the broad world listening to us on the internet, because the more of you listen, the more people we can reach with interesting people and interesting ideas. My name is Ray Hill, and the name of the show is Public Access Public Affairs. They called us Public Access before we became Houston Media Source, so we just continued the name because PAPA makes a good acronym. I am always on the prowl, trying to find somebody that's smarter than I am, that thinks deeper than I do, and has ideas that you need to hear. Well, over the transom, a telephone call came, because I think it was in the media or an article was written or something, and Lucille Martin called me. And she opened up, she's saying, I'm 93 years old. Is that still true, or are you 94? Lucille, how old are you now?
94, but in 6 more weeks I'll be 95 on August 6th.
She's rushing toward 95.
Yeah, okay.
And she told me that she had a plan to fix what is wrong with the world. And that's a pretty comprehensive subject. So I thought that I would invite her here and introduce her to you so that you could get some ideas from a person who actually had ideas. Lucille Martin, where did you come from?
Actually, I'm a native Houstonian.
Rare, we
I was
natives.
born here in 1923 on the north side where our esteemed mayor was born.
Yeah, how far north? Were you born Heights
On
Hospital?
North Boundary,
North Boundary.
yes.
And you were born in a hospital?
No, I was born at home.
You're born at home, because people were born at home in those days.
Back in those days.
I guess I'm the first generation. I was born at Baptist Memorial when it was downtown across the street from City Hall.
Oh, okay.
And so you were born there in 1923, so we're rare.
All right, well, Mother and Dad left Houston when I was about 2 years old. We went to Kansas City, Missouri, stayed there a couple of years, and my brother, Homer, was born there. And then from there, we went to Tonkawa, Oklahoma. We lived there until 1930, where we moved to Pampa, Texas. And we stayed there till 1936, and this was all during the Dust Bowl era.
Mm-hmm.
We experienced that first large Dust Bowl
That we see the pictures of.
that rolled in across the whole horizon, blackened the whole town so bad that we couldn't even see the light on it next door at the neighbor's house. And everybody was so scared they didn't know what to do. But anyway, we had this was during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And that summer in 1936, we went to Enid, Oklahoma, and stayed there a couple of months. And it got to 120 in the shade that summer up there, and this was before air conditioning. So we were running around with a pan of water and a towel, dipping the towel in the water, wringing it out and fanning it in the air and wrapping it around our head and neck. And at night, we had our beds out in the backyard, and everybody slept outside at night. That's the way we
Hope to catch a breeze.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we've had some hot weather here before. Of course, in Texas, we always get a hot summer, like I think we're going to have this year, it looks like.
Well, like it's in Midland, Texas today, it's 107.
Yes. And then we went back to Pampa and stayed for about a month because my mother was sick with an enlarged heart, and she couldn't take that high altitude. So Daddy got his brother in Martinsville that was driving a school bus to come and get us and take us all back to, and our belongings back to Martinsville, where we stayed for about a year. So I went to school there, and we got there in the fall of 36, and in the spring of 37, just a few days before April Fool, I got spring fever because the window at school was open and that balmy breeze was blowing in, and all of a sudden I just thought I had to get out and go play in it. I thought, well, I'll get a couple of friends to go with me, and then I thought, no, I'll get the whole school to play hooky. I got the whole school to play hooky on April Fool.
Leadership skills.
The next day.
What grade were you in, Lucille? What grade were you?
Seventh.
Seventh grade.
Yeah.
And you had the leadership school to lead the whole school out.
Yes.
On a playing hooky on April Fool's Day.
And the next day, the teacher and principal and everybody came back with a big smile on their face. I discovered the power of numbers then. And then I think that must have been the start of spring break.
Well, as you tell your journey, what I hear is the different cultures that you lived in. There was a culture in Oklahoma, then there was another culture in Oklahoma, there was a culture in Kansas City, there was a culture in Pampa, then there's a culture in Martinsville.
Yes, that
so
was...
you were exposed to a diversity of cultures.
Yes. See, Martinsville was founded by my great-grandfather, who was a doctor there. He made house calls in a horse and buggy. He donated school property, the property to the school there, and they have a nice new school building there now. And I looked up the information about it on the internet here a few months ago and found out that they do not allow bullying there.
Oh. That's good.
My people have always been people of gentle persuasion. They believe that everyone has a right to be all that they can be. And we're put on this planet to help each other, not hurt each other. So that's my upbringing.
Now you're getting into your interest on issues that affect real people.
Yes.
And apparently you have a very serious interest in that. Where did that come from?
My birthday. People get their talents and basic characteristics from the birth dates. We don't get them from our parents. And when Obama was saying that he wanted everyone to study math and science, I sent him a message and said, hey, if that happens, we'll only have 2 categories in the Yellow Pages. And it's true.
Yeah.
See, there's an order to things in the universe. I've observed this. The planets and all things are lined up to where they play a part in our daily lives and the way we live, plant food, harvest it. And that's all good. But I've noticed also that there's lack of order in humans, government, and religion. They're all 3 crammed on the back of this horse that I call chaos, fighting for control of it as it takes off in all directions, and that's where we are.
Well, before the show, you and I discussed an issue that is important to you, and that is the school shootings. What are your ideas about these school shootings?
Well, I did some research on that, starting with a shooting that happened at the Texas Tower in 1966.
I remember that shoot. Whitmire, somebody climbed that tower and started shooting, and that's the first incident that I remember.
I wanted to know and find out what triggered these people to do these things. And today they're saying that, well, vote the old ones out and put some new ones in. But my question is, if the new ones don't know any more than the old ones, what are we going to get? See, lack of education and understanding of the human anatomy and how it works in the body is one of our major problems. And we have got to learn about that. I have observed that, I was saying, you know, we get our talents and everything from our birth dates. Also, we get our flaws from them. Everyone's not perfect. We all have a little flaw somewhere. And when someone is looking at you and saying, well, I don't like your looks, I don't like the way what you do, or something like that, well, they've got problems too. So we just can't start doing that to people. We've got to, if everyone will take care of their own shortcomings, we'll have a much better world to live in.
Now, Lucille, that's biblical. I mean, that's scriptural.
Yes.
About don't worry about the cinder in your neighbor's eye when you've got a plank in yours.
Well, it's, I think about it quite often because, you see, there are some birthdays where people are born with major maladjustments, major mental problems. I had 5 friends that were born in this particular zodiac sign. They were all on lithium.
Uh-huh.
One of them was a real bad case. I worked with her, and she had dark circles under her eyes. One morning, when she came to work, and I asked her, I said, Barbara, don't you sleep well at night? And she said, no, I stay awake all night walking the floor and writing hate letters to my brothers.
Hate letters?
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty compulsive.
Yes, it is. And I've observed that some of these people that do these mass shootings are born under this particular zodiac sign. And there's another zodiac sign that creates some people that aren't very desirable too. This is all in the book. I've put everything in. In the book I have written here, titled Survival Solutions, Past and Future, Lucille M. Martin, available at Amazon.com. And
well, that's a pretty heavy volume.
Yes.
There's a lot of pages there.
Well, I've got them in see-through sheets in there so you could read it easy. The actual book is 9 by 10. So this size. This is the size of the
okay.
book,
That's the size of the cover of the book.
Here, yeah. But anyway, in that, people don't understand how the human body functions. I've got a lot of information in here on how it does and what you need to look forward to. See, ignorance is the main problem that we have. People don't take the time to find out the truth about things, and we have been misinformed about so many things down through the ages, and this is why people are crammed on the back of that horse called chaos, because they don't understand what's going on.
Well, isn't that getting more difficult with the rapid news cycle we have now? I mean, something can happen anywhere in the world, and we're aware of it within seconds. And then by the time we get to thinking about what's that going on there, there's something else comes in, and it distracts our attention from what we were working. We don't have time to seriously. Things are not as slow or not as fast. They're so fast now that we're being cheated out of thinking about things.
If we don't take the time, we're not going to have a planet to spend any time on. I have great concern about 3 things: our planet, humanity, and posterity. Our planet is very important to all of us.
Sure, gives us life.
It provides Mother Nature, who is the mother of all of us. She sustains us with air, we could only live 3 minutes without it. It's one of the first things that's given to us in our body when we come out that birth chute. We're not breathing inside the womb. We're not breathing until we get slapped on the butt to catch our breath. And that's when we start dying too. The minute we start breathing, we start dying. We never know how, when, or when we're going to leave this planet. So that's why everybody needs to go ahead and buy insurance like us old folks did when you're young, so you'll have something to take care of you when you get old and you can't work and pay for it. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Not only does it provide us with air, oh, by the way, across the screen, those of you who are watching on television, is a telephone number, 713-807. Is that 1784? Is that 1794? 1794. 713-804-1794 is the telephone number. You can call in and ask Lucille some questions if you want to, but I want you to be nice. This is my show, and people on my show that are guests are going to be treated like guests. Frankie, my mama, told me to do that. And I expect you to be nice to my guests too. So feel free to call in if you got a question or a comment. Okay, we get air from the earth. We also get water from the earth.
As I was saying, we only live 3 minutes without air. About 4 months ago, I have 2 dogs, and one of them likes to sit in my lap, and after his evening snack, he snooze a little bit. Well, about 4 months ago, he did this, and then he jumped down and walked about 5 foot, coughed real loud, did a pirouette, and dropped dead.
Mercy.
I turned him over on his back, gave him about a minute of push-type CPR.
Yeah.
Got air back in his body, and he's been up running ever since.
Okay, and it was a lack of air you think brought that on?
That's it. Well, you know, you have to act in a hurry because
sure, you don't have.
You just can't live.
You got 3 minutes, and that don't work.
3 minutes. We could live 3 days without water. Water is essential, and 30 days without food. And then Mother Nature provides the resources for us to make things with, like our homes, our furnishings, and everything, our automobiles and everything like that. So the most important thing we have to save is Mother Nature.
The earth.
If we don't save her, everything else is moot. We have to take the time to do that. The next thing is infrastructure. Infrastructure is important. It's the lifeline to humanity. It carries our water, our transportation, and our power. Without it, we're nothing. And the other thing is our equipment. The most important piece of equipment we have is our body. Our body has to have those things that are provided by Mother Nature to live. So that's it. Now, I have observed that there's one thing that will save all 3 of them.
Now, wait a minute. Let's inventory again. We got to protect Mother Earth.
What?
We got to protect humanity.
Yes.
And we got to protect posterity. I mean,
yes.
That's the next generation and subsequent,
yes.
I take it. Okay. Those are the 3 things you got to protect. Now you've got a solution that does all of those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that'll save all 3 of them and create all the jobs we need, and that's living wage jobs. And most people don't know what living wage jobs are. I do because I took the time to figure it out. And that thing that will save us is maintenance. Everything we use has to be maintained.
Including ourselves.
No, that's right, everything.
How often do you see doctors at our age?
We use this body.
Yeah.
We use it, yeah. It's our equipment, we use it. That's, the planet, infrastructure, and equipment. That's it. Those 3 things have to be maintained. And we have to spend the time and the money to do it. If we don't, we'll lose it. And our greed is killing everything. We've created a little critter and then nurturing a little critter I call Garpy, G-A-R-P-I. Under the G, we have greed. Under the A, we have apathy. Under the R, we have religion. Under the P, we have population. Under the I, we have ignorance, immigration, and irresponsible parenting. This is the cause of most of our problems. People don't rear their kids to have good manners and good habits, and that needs to be done from the ages of 1 to 3, when parenting should be the main thing that a parent has to do, and they need to be home and take care of their kids if they're going to have them, huh?
Lucille, families are not like families are not like the family you grew up in. Now, you moved around a lot,
Yes.
but you moved around a lot as a family unit. I didn't. I come from a line of farmers.
Yes.
We were stationary, but we were stationary as a family unit. A lot of that is broken down. It takes 2 salaries to feed the kids, so nobody's at home to take care of them.
That's the problem.
Well, what's the solution?
Irresponsible parenting. You're not, see, I graduated from high school in June 1941, just before Pearl Harbor.
The year after I was born.
We had, really?
Yeah, 1940 I was born.
We had 400 graduating. Every one of them knew their 3 R's. And we didn't have dropouts, and we didn't have babies born out of wedlock back then. If we don't get back to that and start taking care of families like we're supposed to, then we're going to lose everything we've got, because that's why they're out running the streets, that's why they're selling drugs, that's why they're robbing and killing people. And the 2 things that cause these mass shootings more than anything else is the irresponsible parenting and rejection. When people are rejected over and over again, it destroys the very essence of their being. When you take away make them feel helpless, hopeless, and hapless, they're going to come back and do something. And this is what they're doing in the schools. They're coming back to prove that they're somebody and they're something, and they're going to go out in a flame of glory.
But they do go out.
They do.
Nobody's getting away with this stuff.
I know, but they're doing it. They're regardless of getting away with it, they're killing our kids.
And they're just children themselves.
And they're children themselves, see, because of lack of parenting. So people need to quit having kids they can't afford to rear properly. It costs about $240,000 per child to get them through the grade schools and college. How many kids can they afford? Should our government be paying for all of that? No.
Well, I mean, education could be more reasonably priced.
Well, it's not. See, I've been in the real estate business, and sometimes youngsters that have been going to college would come back and want to buy a home after they graduated and they had a job. Well, they weren't making enough money to afford a house. They were making enough money to pay for their education, a new car, and a wide TV screen. They didn't take the right courses. So in this book, The Living Wage, I took the time to figure out how much it costs to support a family of 5. So high school students now that are graduating need to read this book and understand how much it's going to take for them to live the lifestyle they want to live. And it's outlined on the cost is on the left column, and on the right column I've got blanks where they can fill in and keep track.
So it's a workbook. It's a workbook.
Yeah,
It's a workbook. I mean, here's what you're going to need.
Yeah.
How you do it.
yes. This is it. How to get...
Is that the only chapter you treat that way? Is
Well,
living
I've
wage
got
part?
several things in there that I show how to do. Because being in the real estate business, I've paid attention to the growth of our population and how it's growing. And our infrastructure is in sad shape here in Houston. I've been trying to get monorail systems between our two airports, and we need it then to connect this new high-speed rail train that I have been working on for years to get in. In fact, we need that triangle to connect Texas, and we have the high-speed rail going now from Houston to Dallas that's going to be up and running in a few years. And then there's another leg of the triangle that's going to come down from Round Rock to San Antonio at the present time. So we still got to finish filling it in, because we've got to get some of this traffic off of our freeways, and we need the high-speed rail systems here in Houston above grade. Otherwise, we're going to have all kinds of traffic jams and more people killed, and we can't do that. In 2001, when we had Mayor Brown,
Yes.
I worked with him to try to get an event here to do a national master plan for our transportation. Had everything pretty well worked out to make the presentation on it, and HGAC turned thumbs down on it. They like to do dollies of doodles.
HGAC.
From the dollies of doodles they've been doing over the years.
What
we
does
have a little patchwork.
What does HGAC stand for?
Yeah.
What does it stand for?
What?
You called it HGAC. What is that?
Houston Galveston Area Council.
Okay, HGAC, Houston Galveston Area Council.
Yeah.
And you're saying they think backwardly?
They turned thumbs down on it. And this was in 2001. Well, in 2009...
Well, now, Mayor Brown, as I recall...
No, he wanted it.
...did the downtown street job. He started it.
Yeah, that's it.
He started doing all of the streets downtown because they hadn't been touched in years.
I know.
And what he found was a cobbled together pyramid of cables and tubes and sewers and water, all of that. He had to tear all that up and rebuild all of that. It was a mess.
I know.
And then here came Mayor White and took advantage of it.
Well,
said, look what I did. Now, both Brown and White are friends of mine. So I saw Brown start the work, and I saw White steal the credit.
that's why we need a national master plan, so we know what we're doing and what is needed and how to do it right and put the money. You see, I voted for Ike when he was president, and he's the one that put in our infrastructure for our freeways and so forth.
Yes. He saw them in Germany, and he said, we need that.
That's right. And that's what we need now is a master plan. And anyway, after I tried to get the one done with the mayor, in 2009, the feds came in and did a makeshift one. And at that time, Judge Eccles had his plan for what is now the one that's going to Dallas. It was planned at that time to go from here to Fort Hood. Well, I was the last one to get up and speak at that event. And I told her, I said, well, it's a good plan except for three things. She said, what? I said, location, location, and location. I don't know of anybody that wants to ride a high-speed rail from Houston to Fort Hood. Killed the deal. Texas had to do the whole thing over again. Now we're getting it right. If things aren't done right, it just costs more money and we lose. I call Houston the caboose city because we haven't done it right. Does that make sense?
Well, you understand I'm partial to Houston.
Huh?
You understand I'm partial to Houston. I love
am
Houston.
too, because it's my hometown.
It's my hometown
That's why I want it done right.
And I can understand the thesis. The engineers necessary to do it are in short supply. So we've got to train and educate some engineers to think about these large projects.
Well, we got to spend the money to do it, like Ike did.
You and I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
the freeway system.
Yeah.
That didn't happen overnight.
No,
It took decades. And they're still working on it.
But not only now do we need a national master plan, we need a planet master plan for infrastructure now. Look at all the people that are dying from starvation.
Oh, yeah.
All this, it's, you know, it's terrible because
It's not that we don't have enough food. We don't have a distribution system that gets to food where
there's
it needs it.
no order to what we're doing. We've got to put some order in the things that we're doing.
Now, Lucille,
Yeah,
the way it is done now makes money for some business people. And they covet the way they've got it working. And you suggesting that we need to not pay attention to them, but follow a higher order than the root instinct of business?
I've talked to some of them. Marvy Finger, for one.
Yeah.
And about the high speed, about the monorail systems to
Yeah.
connect to airports and different things, and a high speed rail. He said, if you can do that, he said, you'll be my hero. They want it, and they'll pay for it if you have a plan that makes sense to them.
Well, let me place
What?
Marvy Finger for you.
Huh?
Marvin Finger is one of the most recent generation
Yeah.
of the Finger family.
Yes.
The finest architects in the city
Yes.
in the 20s, 30s, and 40s
Yeah.
were all Fingers.
Yes.
City Hall was designed by Finger.
Uh-huh.
San Jacinto Monument was designed by Finger.
Okay.
The houses in River Oaks and along Brays Bayou, many of them were designed by Fingers. They were architects, they were engineers. You know of them because they had a furniture store.
Well, yes.
But the rest of us knew of them as the planners
Mm-hmm.
of the city, which is exactly what you're doing when you start talking about high. I just wanted the audience to catch
Yes.
up on the Finger thing. But you knew that.
Oh, yes.
You
I
knew
did.
you
I
knew who
did.
the Fingers were.
See, back in 1985, I was working with the people that were wanting to put in an airport out on 1093 with General Holmes.
Okay.
They had done the Arcola Airport, and all of a sudden Katie rejected it and didn't want it there.
I remember.
didn't like
I
that
remember. I remember
location.
those debates.
So I looked around and found them another location between 290 and I-10, 1 mile north of the Grand Parkway, which was an ideal spot, 6,000 acres.
Mm-hmm.
They did the engineering on it, laid out design and so forth. I got tentative approval from FAA to do it. And they had a lot of companies that were going to come in there and build warehouses and so forth. And I had been talking to another company that called the Cardiffs that owned 1,400 acres that we turned down because it was laced with gas pipelines and as a duck and geese habitat.
Yeah, I remember those arguments.
They sold it to the city of Houston. The Conservation Society would not let the city of Houston use it. But anyway, it killed our project. And that was sad because that large airport needed to be there. And at that time, I dealt with the guy that was the head of the Houston Aviation Department. And he said that eventually they would have 9 terminals there at Bush. Well, I knew if they had 9 terminals there that the traffic was going to be horrific.
Yeah.
That's why we need the above-grade monorail systems so those guys that work downtown, when they go to the airport, they can take a cab or something to wherever they need to catch this and leave their cars parked in the garages here and not have to take them out to the airport. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, and connecting the two airports makes even
Yes.
more sense.
I mean, you got to plan ahead. Of course, having been in the real estate business and working out there and knowing how the developments are going and how the population is going, I don't have to have all that data stuff. That's right up here. I see it and work in it. So I know what's going to happen. Like I said, when I graduated from high school and lived in Dallas, that North Freeway between Dallas and Fort Worth, 2 lanes, one going east and one going west.
Oh, yes.
And there's hardly any traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see what's happening? I see it. It's, they have to spend all this money and time and they get nowhere with it.
Let me talk to these folks a minute. Our guest today is Lucille Martin. And I just look for people that have got ideas. And I come down here and I give them an opportunity to talk to you because I think you deserve to have things that make you think. That is the purpose of Papa when I am the host here, is to make you think, to give you some ideas to think about. Here is a 94-year-old woman who paints the picture of her life with such a broad brush. I mean, where does the enthusiasm come from? Where does she's got an idea to fix all of the major problems. And she's got it in a book. And the book is available through Amazon.com. What's the title of your book?
Survival Solutions, Past and Future.
Survival Solutions, Past and Future. Now, when did you decide to start writing these things down and assembling them into a volume?
Well, I started writing them and sending them to presidents, mayors, and I've even sent some to the Supreme Court. See, one thing I've learned about the age of 94, we don't live long enough to know everything. We have to keep learning something new every day to keep our mind sharp and keep going. So I sent the first one to George H. Bush.
H. Bush. Papa Bush. Bush 41.
He followed through on it and did some token effort to get some of the things done that I had suggested in there. And the title of it, it's in the little article is, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 pages, is in the book, and the title of it is Future Vision. And the two things that I started even that one out with, the cause of our problems was irresponsible parenting and rejection.
Which is the theme you brought up earlier in this show.
Yeah, the same thing. It hadn't changed. So we've got to get back to responsible parenting. I'm serious.
Well, should people...
People don't know how to rear their children, so we've got to show them how and train them. I've got that information in the book on how I worked with a friend of mine was babysitting with a little baby. He was 14 months old. And then I'd take him out to lunch once in a while, and we'd go to the store, and I'd let him out of his buggy, and he'd run down the aisle and pick stuff off the shelf and throw it on the floor. So I'd go behind him, and I'd say, Forrest, that doesn't belong to you. Pick it up and put it back on the shelf. You can look at it and admire it. So he'd pick it up and put it back, and I'd say, thank you. Well, when he was about 14 months old one day, he wanted something, and he pointed to it. He grunted and wanted me to hand it to him, and I did, and he says, thank you.
Okay, training.
They learn from habit.
They learn by watching.
Then watching and doing.
Now, if you're sitting there watching television, smoking a joint, your kids are not going to avoid marijuana.
They're not what?
Avoid marijuana.
Well, they will if they're taught how to take care of their body, maintenance of the body. See, this is where the maintenance habits come in, forming good habits, taking care of the body, and you have to start out when they're young. You know where that guy is today? He's 26 years old, and he's studying to be a doctor.
All right.
All right.
So it pays off.
And also, I'd take him over, we'd go over to the Galleria, and I'd take him. They had a candy store there that had all these little bins with a scoop. So I'd take him over there, and I'd say, "Now, Forrest, you can get scoops, some out of 3 different bins." I said, "You'll have to get a little bag and put it in." So he'd do that. He'd put it in there, and I'd say, "Now, here's the money. You go pay for it." I was teaching him how to handle money and how to pay for things, even at that age. They learn fast if you just take the time to enjoy them and teach them. It's fun doing it.
How did you not become a teacher?
I teach everything I know.
I know, but
Everybody does.
But you're not getting paid for it. You're sharing it and selling books.
My lot in life was to do this. Try to help everybody and teach more people, and we'll do it that way.
And you write these government officials like they're next door neighbors.
What?
You write to these government officials like they're your next door neighbors.
Oh, yeah, I do, and I hear from them. In fact, I got 2 good results from the Supreme Court on 2 articles I wrote. One of them was I sent the article to the court, and then I sent one letter about it directly to Justice Ginsburg, and about 2 weeks later she was on TV touting
that
help for it, and we won. And it was, one of them was about gay marriage, and the other one was about, let me see, what was the other one? Marriage, well, I'll come to it in a minute. Things kind of, in my mind, sometimes things kind of go
Wait a
around.
minute. You're 94 years old.
Yeah.
Where did an understanding of gay marriage come from in your experience?
I looked it up on the internet, the origination of marriage. Religion had nothing to do with it. So, the other thing was abortion.
Yeah.
Abortion, yeah, that was a biggie that I sent to the Supreme Court, and we got a good ruling on that too. Because when that year we lived in the country, when an elder would die, people would come from far and wide and gather around the bed and watch them take their last gasp. When they quit breathing, they were pronounced dead. So at age 14, that's when it occurred to me, hey, you're only alive if you've got air in your body. If you're not breathing, you're dead.
It's over with.
So when a baby first comes out that birth chute, it's not breathing until it's slapped on the butt and catches its breath.
So what's good for one end is good for the other.
That's right. That's it. Does that make sense? Sure,
it makes a lot of sense, Lucille.
And
it's not a popular thought among 94-year-old women, but it's a good thought.
But I found support for it in Bible in Genesis 2:7 that states, God made man from dust and breathed life into the body and soul. It states it right there. Huh?
It's all there.
So I put that in there. See, so the court had that. I'm educating them too.
Lucille, this has been wonderful.
What?
This has been wonderful for me.
Is it over?
Well, not yet. We're getting close to the end of it. We're getting close to the end of it, but how valuable it is to have you come in here and share with all of these people your wonderful ideas and plans. What's the name of your book?
Survival Solutions, Past and Future, Lucille M. Martin, and get it at Amazon.com.
You can go to Amazon and hunt it up.
This book is good for politicians, voters, students, and others, all others. And it's especially good for students so they'll know what kind of courses they're going to have to take in order to support the lifestyle they want to live. Because when they go to college and spend all this money and then graduate and they're only making enough money to pay for their college debt, a new car, and a wide TV screen, they've lost.
And no house to put it in.
Oh, I talk to a lot of guys that say, oh, I wish I'd known that. Yeah, I wish I'd known that.
Lucille, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
Realistic.
Oh, you've got a third choice.
Yes.
Okay, how did you reach that?
Common sense.
Common sense. Common sense. You know, I'm the first generation of Hill males that did not push a mule through a field for a living. We're farmers.
Yeah.
Farmers operate on common sense. We live by the sun. We live by the seasons. So we know our time is allocated where the tough work is done earlier in the day and it tapers off so we're relaxed and can rest at night. Farmers are very common sense kind of people. And that's the kind of culture that Texas generates.
That's it.
We are not too far away from being an agrarian place.
We still have the kind of pioneer spirit that built this nation, this country.
And this city.
Yeah. And I think that's what people like about it. They have a feeling of freedom here to be able to be all that they can be. And that's what people need an opportunity to do. And they don't have a right to kill someone and take that opportunity away from someone else.
No,
I don't know of any Bible that says that you can do that. That's not what we're put here to help each other, not hurt each other. And once we do, then things will change. I think Norway is the only one that's got some order to their government lifestyle. They seem to have it right. If we could all do that, I think we'd all be better off. But we'll work on it. But we're going to have to educate, see, the right type of education with truthful education. We have been deception along things that we have learned from what we've been taught has not been right. And that's one thing that causes all of our problems. When people aren't on the same page, and religion. It's the one thing that's causing so many wars and so many people being killed right now. It's the different factions of religion. I suggested in the book, I don't know if it's in the book or not, but in an article that I wrote to the presidents and different ones, that what they need to do is to do a territory around Jerusalem over there, the holy area, and let everyone that's waiting for their Savior to come to have a building there around the circle, and then have a gazebo and light it up. And then when the guy steps in it, it will light up. And then that way they can all run out and see if it's their guy. Because it's only one God. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, Lucille. And you've had time to sit down and worry about the problems between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Oh yeah, everything. The cause of everything being it all comes back on us too. We're fighting that war right now.
Oh yes.
We've got soldiers over there. We're losing people, and we shouldn't have been there in the first place, but we're there. So we got a big mess to clean up. If people would just have, I heard on the news the other day someone was saying, well, what's new and different? We want something new and different. Well, what is new and different that's going to keep them going? Just here again, lifestyle, survival solutions, past and future. The past and the future are the same. The basic things that we have to keep going are the same now as they were in the very beginning. You see, when Adam and Eve first arrived on this planet, all they had was Garden of Eden, 2 fig leaves, all this real estate.
And that was good until somebody else started subdividing it.
Yeah, too bad Trump didn't know them then with his art of the deal. Anyway, so here it is. They have all this, but they haven't built a home or anything yet, so they don't have a pot or a window. And no kids yet. Well, they were finally told to go forth and multiply and populate the planet, which everybody has been devoutly doing.
Yeah, That's almost religiously driven.
Yeah, devoutly. And then she went through the garden one day, and she run when she was bored, and comes across a snake that entices her to take a bite of the apple. Well, that activated what Betty Davis referred to as the curse of mankind.
And Betty Davis is right about most
Oh
stuff.
yeah, she's right about a lot of things. She'd look at this and say, "What a mess," you know. So anyway, they had I think they had a total around 27 kids altogether. But the first two, Cain and Abel, didn't get along, so Cain slew Abel. That was our first dysfunctional family.
Absolutely. And it all had
And it's been hitting the fan ever since.
and it all had to do with lentil soup.
That's it.
You got to watch out for that lentil soup; it'll get you every time.
Well, I try to put a little humor into things.
I hope so.
Well, see, my birthday's August the 6th, the same as Lucille Ball's.
Okay.
So people with the same birthday have the same basic characteristics and so forth.
So make them laugh.
That's right. Well, it kind of helps the truth go down because it's hard for some people to swallow.
Yeah.
And especially on that when life begins thing.
Yeah. Well, that debate
But
rages and rages and rages, and the Supreme Court reaches a sound decision. But
it's
you know, we got the same thing with guns.
It's in the Bible.
We got the same thing with guns right now.
Yeah.
All of the courts have said
Yeah.
that war weapons are for war
That's it.
and are not protected for personal use by the First Amendment. But
Well,
there are millions war guns out there in private hands. And those people have no intention of turning loose of those guns.
I've even been writing to Trump once in a while, and I told him, said, well, if everybody can do what they want to with all these weapons and so forth, I think I'm going to get a Sherman tank and put in my driveway.
At least you won't have many traffic problems.
Right. That's right. So, but anyway, you see, he's got a bad birthday.
Really?
Yeah. And he's a Gemini with Leo rising, and I'm a Leo with Gemini rising.
Ah.
I told him I was his alter ego.
You're polar opposite.
Today he's down there at Santa Fe, and I'm here touting what we're going to have to do to save everything, and I don't think he has a clue as to what to do about anything.
What do you think about the kids from Parkland that have started a movement about gun legislation?
That's fine. When they first started out, I touted the fact that we needed to vote them out of office. Also, we need a background check. But in my research, very few of those people that do these deeds have a background record because it's their first time. Oh. So background checks aren't going to help everything.
That's right.
Here again.
But you know, a bunch of high school kids, damn near
I know, but they're on the way.
NRA down.
They need the book. Everybody needs to read this book so they'll know what to do when, see, and then when I go to some of these political meetings and I ask them when life begins, I get the look of a deer caught in the headlights. A major issue they don't know the answer to. How could that be? They don't know the answer to much of anything. So until they're educated on things they need, the issues and the solutions, what good are they going to do us if they get someone new in there? Not any.
Lucille Martin, our guest today on Papa. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you liked it, or if you didn't like it, send me an email. You can pick on me, just leave Lucille alone. She's my guest. I got to take care of her and make sure she's treated well. My email address is hillray@sbcglobal.net. It's easy to find. If you live around Houston, or if you watch Channel 17, or if you listen to our internet radio station, hmsnetradio.org, I'm on every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. And I'll get invited again to come over here and do a Papa Show. My friend Doug Caddy is getting back on his feet from surgery, and he will likely join me on my next appearance here. You remember him. He was the lawyer for the Watergate burglars who changed sides somewhere down the line. My name is Ray Hill. Thank you very much for watching HMS Net Television, or hmstelevision.org, and Houston Media Source, Channel 17, Comcast in Houston. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned to other wonderful programming on our station.